Right now in Manhattan, partly cloudy sky, 76 with little to no wind. Still a 20% chance of showers and thunderstorms later this evening. That'll continue overnight, mainly before 4 in the morning, 70% chance of precipitation with a low around 66. Slight chance of rain in the early morning tomorrow, with cloudy skies in the morning, then a gradual clearing and a high near 84. 60% chance of precipitation tomorrow night, then a 30% chance on Friday. After that chance in the morning and early afternoon, mostly sunny skies, and a high near 90. We got the game up next on News Radio KMAN.
KMAN Daily Weather is presented by Fox Business Systems. How much does downtime cost you and your business? Don't let another second go by. Call Fox Business Systems at 776-1452.
The following is an exclusive presentation of News Radio KMAN, your home for K-State athletics. It's game time. This is The Game on News Radio KMAN.
Fall practice is underway for the K-State football team. And we are exactly 1 month away from K-State football. 31 days, 1 hour, 53 minutes, and 30 seconds, according to my countdown timer that's right in front of me, until that ball goes off at Bill Snyder Family Stadium. And the 2026 season is officially underway, and so is the first game under head coach Colin Klein. Welcome to the game. Mitch Fortner and Cole Dutchendorf. We got 3 guests today. 3 guests coming on the show here. Our first hour is packed. Of course, it's KSO Day. It's Wednesday. Plus, it's the first training camp update from St. Joseph, Missouri, with the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, Mitch Holthus. For those that didn't see the news earlier today, nothing, not a big deal, but no longer GEHA Field at Arrowhead. It's now just Arrowhead Stadium again.
Thank goodness.
Mitch Holthus was always great about that. Made the transition. It was always GEHA Field at Arrowhead, not just saying Arrowhead Stadium. Going by, I don't remember how much the deal was, but it was pretty lucrative for the Chiefs. That ran, 5 or 6 years? I think it started the COVID year.
2021, I believe, was when they made the agreement.
So it was lasted 5 years was that agreement. And then, the World Cup comes around, takes down all that stuff, and they're just like, how about we just put up less letters? No more GEHA Field.
Yeah.
It's just back to Arrowhead Stadium. 20 questions in 20 shows. Today is question number 3. As we continue to talk about players and could they meet a specific criteria? Well, today's question is, who's going to be that breakout player on the offensive side of the football for the 2026 season? Plus, K-State women's basketball coach Jeff Mitty has added a 6'5" center from Greece. K-State football has also given us an update on classifications. And while all that's going to look like, it's pretty much more clear now who has exactly how much eligibility, plus, always just, battling in courts. If you need one more year, just take it to court. But now we have exactly how much eligibility everybody has left with, of course, the new 5-for-5 rule that is going into place this year. So we'll get to that here in our second hour here today on the game. So, of course, we're with you for a couple of hours here today here on News Radio KMAN. Phone line, text line, 785-537-1350. If you want to give us an answer to today's question, who will be K-State's offensive breakout player in 2026? And just to be specific, a breakout player, we're not considering a newcomer. Newcomer is a different conversation. We're talking somebody who was on the roster last year and is hoping to have an impression on this season. Somebody that will make a difference, be a role player, at the very least, make an impact.
It's a question
stand
that
out.
I think outside of basically one kind of glaring answer is actually a very interesting conversation.
No, there's more than one really solid answer, folks. There's not just one, and I know where everybody's mind might go with that. Just might happen to be this, 5-star tight end, Goodland, Kansas. I understand that, but there's more than just one name that'd make a very appropriate answer to that question. Are we ready to go with our special guest here? All right. Always looking forward to kicking off a Wednesday show because that means, it's Wednesday. And you know what that means. AEW Dynamite tonight. It's a historic night. It's Grand Slam Mexico. This will be a show live from Mexico City and Arena, Mexico. And I believe it's not sold out, but it's very close to selling out. I was looking up tickets, and these are like WWE pay-per-view expensive tickets. I don't know if it's just because it's AEW doing a television show in Mexico, and it's so expensive, like nosebleeds being sold by the venue are more than $1,000. That is... those are insane prices for pro wrestling. It should never be that expensive, but people are buying them. So that's more the venue than I think it is AEW, but it is a packed card. I mean, their 2-hour show got 8 matches. That's going to be an overrun tonight here on TBS. And that'll start at 7 o'clock Central. Just find TBS on your local guide, your local TV guide, and watch some AEW tonight. That also means we're joined this week by Drew Galloway from K-State Online. Drew joining us this week. Earlier today, we saw the video up at Snyder Times. Colin Klein rolling into the Veneer Football Complex. Day one. Let's get after it. So, Drew, we'll play a little fantasy football here. Not necessarily like you're picking players and looking to gain some points, but it's like, as a fantasy member, the media, and you had a fantasy of you could be there for practice number 1, because we all got storylines. You put out an article earlier today at KSO talking about storylines from these fall camp practices going on. Number 1, if you were there, if you were there, you could get your eyes on practice. What would be one of the first things, or the first thing that you're looking for, or you would be wanting to see?
Yeah, that's a really good question. First off, that video was like the most Bill Snyder thing of all time. Like, I got a kick out of seeing that this morning. But I think that the first thing that I'd be looking for would be, once they go to 5 offensive linemen, who is in that top group on the right side? Because I think that the left side is pretty solidified. Like, I think that everybody's kind of came to a consensus that it's John Pastore, Tanner Morley, and then Delvin Morris at center. But right guard is really interesting because it's probably between Dylan Villarreal and Charlie Adams, the Cal Poly transfer. And then right tackle is also really interesting because I really believe in Gus Hawkins and everybody is kind of still on the hype train of like what Gus Hawkins can be and what George Fitzpatrick can be. But both of those guys are coming off of pretty extensive, one medical event and one injury. And I really want to see what those two look like. And, I don't think that there is a wrong answer necessarily in who starts. But I just want to see how up to full speed both of those two are. And then a second one, which is kind of just like kind of like a fun one, would be what does special teams look like? Who are the returners? Who is punting? Like I am kind of very curious about this team and what special teams looks like as well.
I would love to see special teams, and you hit it on the nose probably for me, like of what I would like to see, because we've had names mentioned on who could be returning kicks. We're hearing a lot of very wonderful things about Brandon White. He was the first name mentioned on like kick returns, punt return. Sterling did a lot of that, but is he going to be the guy? So, plus, just like to see the immediate impact of Stan Weber. Being back and that being an advantage going into every game that it used to be. K-State was always the better special teams team, and then when we were begging him to take a touchback on kickoff.
And to be honest, it doesn't even need to be like as big of an advantage as it used to be, as much as like it can't be terrible. Like, K-State was losing the hidden yardage in a lot of last season and 2024. And when you look at what went wrong in a lot of those games, you can point just to starting field position. Like, K-State was getting crushed in starting field position because they either weren't getting off a good punt, or they allowed a return, or they weren't returning themselves, or, twice last year, Bryce Ornberg fumbles a kickoff, and that gives the opponent one extra possession. So hidden yardage, I think, will be kind of a storyline that goes a little bit under the radar this year that I'll really be watching.
So, again, we're on the same page. You're looking at the right side of the offensive line, still a bit of a question mark. Of course, the health of George Fitzpatrick would be pretty telling if he's going to be playing a lot of football for K-State this upcoming season. Does he start? Things like that. Plus, depth is a question as well. But I'll ask the question as a follow-up to you mentioning first offensive line. Is the right side of the line, I'll use the word concern. Is it a bigger concern than the interior of the defensive line?
No, I don't think that that's really even close. I think that the interior of the defensive line is much more of a concern to me than the right side of the offensive line. Where like the right side of the offensive line to me is just really curiosity, because I think that Charlie Adams played really well at Cal Poly after playing 1 year at junior college, and then Dylan Villarreal played really well in the spot time that he got as a true freshman. And I think that people kind of forget, because of how poor last year was at times, that he played in 4 games as an offensive lineman as a true freshman. And then on the right side, it's like I talked about, that I don't think that there's necessarily a right or a wrong answer, but I think that you want to see one of those two at least really emerge and take that job. We're interior of the defensive line. I really like Kamari Burns. I like what Travis Bates can be as a 3-tech. But then you get kind of beyond those two guys, and it's a major concern. And if this team can't stop the run, I get really concerned about what the season looks like. So I think that the interior defensive line is probably my biggest concern overall with this team.
Was it just a coincidence that Dylan Villarreal, the most he played last season was against Utah? And that was the most rushing yards in 71 years?
I mean, if you look at it that way, that could be something. And I mean, he played a lot towards the middle and end of that Colorado game too, when Joe Jackson started to really break through. So I mean, it could be a coincidence. It could not be a coincidence. But his progress, I think, is something that will be very interesting to see throughout, because I mean, he was a late flip when he committed from James Madison and played in 4 games last year, and now I think the right side, you're going to see all 4 of those guys that I've talked about play a little bit, but who gets the most snaps will be really, really interesting.
Drew Galloway from KSO is our guest. Later on in today's show, our question today is offensive breakout player. Like who we'll end up picking one as like the top guy, but I have a list of 9 candidates on the offensive side, and Dylan Villarreal is absolutely one of those guys. Will he end up being my guy? Not necessarily, but he's on the list. I'll start asking you actually these questions here, Drew, because it is 20 questions in 20 shows as we preview the K-State football season upcoming for the next month until we get to actual kickoff on September 5th. But the last 2 days, we've been talking offensive and defensive preseason MVP. And even though, yes, MVP stands for most valuable player, it could be to you who's just the best overall player. It could be who's the most important, which I think there is a bit of a difference there. I mean, you can kind of, go whichever way you would like to go with this, but let's start with offensive. Who do you as the offensive preseason MVP for the Cats in the 2026 season?
Yeah, I mean, Avery is the cop-out answer, so that's not where I'm going to go. And I'm going to go with Jerron Tibbs. I think that he is another player that, because of how poor last season was, everybody kind of forgets about how good he was. He had the best wide receiver 2 season for a K-State player since 2014, when Curry Sexton also went for 1,000 yards. So, he had a historic season last year that kind of gets overshadowed because of the lack of team success. And he's somebody that people have kind of talked about on KSO, where if Jerron Tibbs had the numbers that he did last year at like Rutgers or Maryland or another like a low power 4 or even power 2 school, or even like had the same numbers but just without Purdue last year too, I think that he would have a lot of hype around him and saying, oh well, in this offense with Colin Klein, maybe he gets 700 or 800 yards, where like a lot of the discourse this offseason has just kind of been like, oh well, we don't really know if Jerron Tibbs can be a number 1 receiver, but there's nothing really talking about how good he was last year as a wide receiver too. And I think that he can get to that 700 or 800 yard mark. So like I think that he's going to be really important because he's going to be probably the receiver that leads the team in the most targets. And I think that his skill set probably fits Avery's skill set the best.
Let's go to, before we take a break, and talk about defensive MVP, which to me there is also the cop-out answer, but there is to me more than one answer. What do you think about defensive MVP heading into 26?
Yeah, defensive MVP, again, I think the cop-out answer is kind of like Wendell Gregory because you got to get to the passer in the Big 12. But that's why I'm going to go with Mekhi Mason because my biggest concern for this entire season is how is K-State going to stop the run? And that is Mekhi Mason's bread and butter. He was one of the nation's leader in tackles for a loss. I think that I had it written down at some point during the transfer process that he, among returners, would have been like 3rd in tackles for a loss in the entire country last year. So he had a very, very productive year at Louisiana Tech. And I think as somebody that needs to play really well, because if K-State's going to stop the run and they don't have a great interior defensive line, that means that Mekhi Mason probably needs to make some plays.
I am super high on Mekhi Mason for a number of reasons that you just mentioned. I mean, I remember reading somewhere that whenever there was a running play that he was involved in, the average gain on that play was like a yard or less, as long as he was in on the tackle. So talk about meeting a ball carrier at the line of scrimmage, which is a pretty big key to stopping the run. Man, I always thought he had the tools to be. He could be a will linebacker, but he's also he's made to be a Mike linebacker. I love the potential of him at Mike, and you're writing him in with a magic marker at that Mike position. It just so happens that Cole also picked Mekhi Mason.
I'm right with you, Drew.
To be his MVP, and I didn't pick Wendell Gregory. I actually I went with Zayshawn Rich.
I like that pick because you also got to be able to stop the pass in the Big 12, and Zayshawn Rich should have been all Big 12 last year, but got robbed by the coaches because K-State went 6-6.
I think he got honorable mention. May have to go double check that, but
yeah, he got honorable mention, but should have been at least 3rd team. I mean, he was number 3 or 4 in the Big 12 in pass deflections, but that doesn't get you on even the 3rd team. Like, what are we doing?
Plus, there's hardly any guys on this team that has as much K-State experience as he does, especially with the exception of probably Jordan Allen. That's the only other. Yeah. But I would consider Zayshawn Rich over Jordan Allen, who I don't have him chalked in as my second defensive end starting the game against Nichols on September 5th. Drew, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll get to the questions that we're going to be asking today and tomorrow. It is breakout players in offense and defense, and hopefully get a little recruiting update before we wrap it up with Drew Galloway as we take a break. You're listening to The Game. Happy birthday, America, where freedom is written, protected, and lived every day.
As the young nation grew, Americans pushed westward, exploring new lands and possibilities. The Louisiana Purchase doubled the nation's size. Pioneers, settlers, and explorers carved out new communities across a vast frontier. Leaders like Thomas Jefferson envisioned a country of opportunity and growth. From farms to towns, from rivers to railroads, a nation stretched from coast to coast. A spirit of exploration defined a generation. America! America 250, expanding horizons, shaping destiny.
Brought to you by Chick-fil-A, Community First National Bank, Faith Furniture, Rothwell Landscape. Visit Manhattan, the Museum of Art and Light, and Manhattan Broadcasting.
The Trust Company is an independent, locally owned wealth management and investment company founded right here in Manhattan in 1992. The motivation that drives your financial goals, your life, is unique to you and your family. You won't find boilerplate, template-driven, off-the-shelf financial services and strategies at the Trust Company, but plans thoughtfully and individually designed, tailored specifically to your hopes and dreams. The Trust Company, locally owned, client-focused. Our only allegiance is to you. Visit thetrustco.com.
Soak up the sun at Blueville Garden Store. Shop pollinator plants to build a habitat for bees, butterflies, and more. Purchase a fountain to add a cooling water element to your landscape. Grab some water tools and fertilizer to keep your plants thriving all summer long. Escape the heat and enjoy one of our weekend seminars in the AC. Blueville Garden Store is open Monday through Saturday, 8 to 3. Come give us a visit at Blueville Nursery, where you'll always find a friendly smile and expert advice. Located at the corner of Scenic Drive in Anderson and Manhattan.
I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise. The NFL spent the better part of a decade devaluing the running back position, but eventually every trend deserves a second look. On the same day, Bijan Robinson became the highest-paid running back in football, just under $23 million per year. Ravens receiver Zay Flowers agreed to a deal worth roughly $35 million annually. Flowers is good, a cornerstone for Baltimore's offense, but still it's fair to ask whether the gap between those two contracts truly reflects their impacts. Elite running backs aren't simply ball carriers anymore. Robinson's capable of producing over 2,000 yards from scrimmage. He's a home run hitter, as a runner and a receiver, forcing defenses to account for him on every play. No one is arguing running backs should be paid like quarterbacks, but when the very best players at the position are earning more than $10 million less per year than receivers, the market may have swung too far. Sometimes scarcity isn't the only measure of value. I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise.
Lots of places can expose you to identity theft.
Oh no.
That's why LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats to your identity, which is way more than anyone can do on their own. If we find anything suspicious, like new loans or changes to your financial accounts, we alert you right away, all through text, phone, email, or the LifeLock app. Get the alerts that could make all the difference. Save up to 30% with promo code NEWS at lifelock.com. Terms apply.
Guys, if you want the greatest night of your life, then you gotta hear this. There's a great ED pill out, and it's from the makers of Viagra. It's their ED pill called Viagra AGV, and it's unbelievable. It works super fast, in as little as 12 minutes, and lasts up to 12 hours. Plus, it's FDA approved and safe. Viagra AGV crushes every other ED pill. And 9 out of 10 urologists now recommend this sensational new super pill over any other. Go to scoreblue.com while supplies last. Scoreblue.com. Viagra AGV.
I'm Cole Dutchendorf with the Game Sports Update, brought to you by Bottle Cap Sports Bar. Another day, another K-State football player named to a trophy watch list earlier this afternoon. This time it was fifth-year senior Garrett Oakley being named to the John Mackey Award watch list, presented to the nation's most outstanding tight end each season. Garrett Oakley has already established himself as one of the best tight ends in K-State history. The Nebraska native already has the school record for touchdown receptions by a tight end with 13, good for 10th overall in program history. Oakley is also inside the top 5 at his position in both career receptions with 71 and yards with 779. In his second year of being on the John Mackey Award watch list, Oakley is just the 4th Wildcat ever to receive the honor. Ben Sennett is the lone semifinalist in K-State history, coming back in 2023. And earlier today, K-State women's basketball got its center. 6'5" Greece native Zoana Tampako signed to the roster, increasing K-State's roster size to 11. The 6'5" center played for Greece at the 2025 FIBA Under-20 Women's Eurobasket Division B, averaging a solid 6 points and 7.3 rebounds, including a 10-point, 10-rebound output against Slovakia in the final game of the tournament. That makes, again, 11 players on K-State's roster.
Yeah, that was a total guess there from Cole on the new women's basketball player for the Cats from Greece.
Was really doing my research too, trying to figure out and then you see it again 10 minutes later and you're like, I'm feeling a lot less confident now than I was then.
You ever see that episode of The Office where Michael and Holly are like a Greek couple going into Andy's seminar, like small business seminar? And they were going in as characters trying to, by agreeing to go with the incentive package that everybody else would kind of join in if they were to lead the charge. And he just went, I'm a Mykonos. Let's get crepes. It's just a ridiculous Greek accent. Drew Galloway, do you know what I'm talking about? Did you watch The Office?
I watched The Office, but I honestly couldn't tell you what, this specific moment.
That's what I was thinking. I've seen The Office a couple of times, but this is not ringing any bells.
Kevin, he makes an entrance at the seminar to Crazy Train.
It's kind of electric.
You guys don't remember that? Man, that was towards the end of Michael Scott's run.
Sure.
Before Steve Carell left the show. All right, Drew, let's get to some more questions. So here is the question we're going to be talking about today at 5:05 here on the show. 20 questions, 20 shows. Today's question is now we go from MVP to breakout player. So the breakout player has to be somebody that was on the roster last year. So this has to be at least their second year as a Wildcat, looking to make an impact, looking to make a name for themselves. Let's put it that way, make a name for themselves, make a difference on the team. This can't be somebody that got, an impact has to be an impact, right? Has to be some sort of difference maker where, they're coming in as a pretty big deal. So what do you think here? Let's start with the offensive side of the football here. Drew, who's your offensive breakout player for 2026?
Yeah, so my offensive breakout player is Dylan Villarreal. I think that he is kind of ready for the big time, and I think that he's going to end up getting a lot of the snaps at right guard. I just think that last year, even with the new coaching staff, playing in 4 games as a true freshman offensive lineman is something that really catches your eye about what somebody can really be down the line, even as soon as this coming season. So I'm going to go with him because I think that he ends up maybe even making an honorable mention All Big 12 type list near the end of the season.
Dylan Villarreal, he is now officially listed as a sophomore, 6'3", 328 pounds out of Cumming, Georgia.
Yeah, I have some thoughts about how they're all listed now. It's not K-State's fault because everybody else is the one that's doing this, but it would just make a lot more sense if it just said first, second, third, fourth, and fifth year guys.
Yeah.
You don't have to bunch in the redshirt freshmen with the guys that would actually be sophomores, but that's just my take on it.
See, my recommendation was just going freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, old.
Yeah,
old for fifth
that
year
would make sense.
Perhaps Unk.
I
don't know, grouping them all like that. It makes it look a little bit funky in my brain, but that just could be how I see it.
See, and this is a me problem. This isn't anybody else's problem, but I didn't do a very good job of keeping up with exactly how many years of eligibility a particular player had. Losing, I would fall behind with the COVID years and things like that. It was supposed to get easier last year. The COVID years was supposed to be done. Then here comes all the the JUCO rules. Everybody's getting an extra year, and now with the 5 for 5, now if you played last year, but that was only your 4th year, you still get a 5th year as long as you didn't sign a contract or whatever. So it could have gotten messier. For K-State's sake, it's not really going to get any sort of messier. It's just maybe clear on eligibility numbers. That's about it.
Yeah. So it's not a huge deal. And I think that, honestly, a majority of players were on the 5 for 5 plan in football anyway. So I think that it's all kind of been overblown by a lot of folks in the national media.
Drew, the defensive breakout player is a question we're going to answer tomorrow, but I'll let you have first crack at it. Who's your breakout player on the D?
Yeah, I'm going with another guy that is in his second year in the program and played a little bit. I'm going to go with Darian Whitaker. I think that he is too good of an athlete to not see the field in some capacity, whether it be him actually starting at the will linebacker spot. Maybe he comes and splits a little bit of time with Mekhi Mason more than we expect at the Mike linebacker. Maybe they get him on the field in like a pass rush situation because he's so athletic and he's already so big at 6'30", at 6'3", and like 246 in the latest roster update that maybe he finds his way on the field in pass rush situations. Like I think that he is going to be somewhere on the field because I think that there are some guys, kind of like what we all talked about when Avery Johnson was a true freshman, of sometimes guys are just too athletic to be on the sidelines. And I think that Darian Whitaker kind of fits that mold.
I've noticed you guys at KSO, you bring him up quite a bit. Not just in videos, I'm talking articles. If it's, I think Mason listed him as like the most important linebacker or something like that, which totally, I mean, I love the idea of him as a rover. As a will linebacker, I guess I'm kind of, I'd like to see what that looks like. I do. But you're right. He should be a damn good athlete. And if he could get on the field this year and be a big deal, or you'll get a lot of snaps, get a lot of playing time, I think sooner or later he's going to be an impact player. So I think that's a good pick.
I mean, he legitimately has one of probably the top 2 or 3 camp performances that I have seen at K-State all time. And like, he was so good that even though K-State had already taken 4 linebackers in that class of the 2025 class, that they felt like they still had to offer him and go take him because he was that good.
All right, Drew, as we wrap up here, anything you want to update us on, any K-State football recruiting headlines, anything we can maybe look forward to here soon?
Yeah, everything's a little bit quiet right now, but that's a little bit due to fall camp starting for K-State, and now high schools are also beginning kind of ramping up for their season. But there's going to be a lot of game day visitors, especially for week 1. There's some basketball visitors on the horizon of the 2028 and 2027 class as well. And K-State continues to do really well for the number 1 player in the state of Kansas for the 2028 class. And if things were to end today, he would be a Rivals 5-star of Cannon Zubek of Shawnee Mission East. I will be in Kansas for the first 3 K-State games.
Hey.
And one of the stops, I think I'm going to go on that Thursday night because Shawnee Mission East season starts early. I think I will be in attendance and have some boots on the ground for the number 1 player in the state of 2020 for 2028, and the player that would be the number 1 player in the state of Kansas overall if you go on rankings.
Are you talking to these players after the game?
Yes, it's not like for very long. It's usually like 2 to 5 minutes, depending on how much time that the players want to give you. But you do talk to them for a little bit on the sideline after the game too.
Now, are you going to be going back home to Georgia between these games?
No. As soon as the schedule came out, I said that I could make this work because I could leave. I think my flight leaves like September 2nd, and then I leave to go back to Georgia on the 22nd of September.
There is a lot of top-heavy high school schedules. I've noticed this. A lot of top-heavy high school schedules this year in Kansas. I mean, Manhattan is another example of that, but even just around here, Wamego, Rock Creek, I mean, they're all pretty top-heavy, especially with league play.
Yeah, I've been trying to schedule out like the rest of my time while I'm in Kansas, and it's like, okay, somehow everybody that I want to see, somehow nobody plays each other in this time that I'm going to be there, or even overall, which I thought was pretty crazy.
Yeah, for those who don't know, Manhattan opening up with Rockhurst week 1 out of Missouri, out of the KC area. All right, Drew, let you go. Appreciate your time. We'll talk to you here. Next time we chat, it's going to be obviously 3 weeks closer to game day. We're going to be very close, so looking forward to that conversation, Drew, and thank you for your time today. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
Drew Galloway from KSO. Yeah, so he would next join us on the 26th. So Mason would get game week. So
But Drew will be right up close to it.
Well, we will take a timeout. So hopefully we ran into this bit of an issue last year where we're trying to get Mitch on at 4:45, 4:50. He's talking to Omaha, Nebraska. So he's probably talking to them right now. So as long as they don't go overtime with him, hopefully we'll get Mitch Holthus here on time. The voice of the Kansas City Chiefs will bring us his first update from training camp, brought to you by K-State Credit Union, after a timeout. Fingers crossed. That's after these words on the game.
Right now in Manhattan, partly cloudy, 76 with little to no wind. 20% chance of showers and thunderstorms for the rest of the evening. That bumps up to a 70% chance overnight, mainly before 4 in the morning with a low of 66. So the slight chance of showers before 7 a.m. tomorrow, just at 10%, with the gradual clearing of the clouds and a high near 84. 60% chance of rain tomorrow night, then 30% chance on Friday with a high near 90.
Practice officially underway for K-State football. They got started today. K-State Sports put out a video. Colin Klein showing up to the complex. First day, go Cats, let's get ready. Stuff like that. And I noticed in the video the sun wasn't up yet, and I saw that the sunrise today was like 6:15. So, yeah, he was rolling in some Snyder times there. It had to be 5-something. And also shout out to whoever's running the camera being there that early to
seriously
get the sights and sounds of day number 1.
The unsung hero.
I mean, yesterday it was check-in day. The boys coming in with the fans and the sunflower seeds and the pillows. They're getting ready to live at the Veneer Football Complex for the next, well, I don't know when school starts, but, up until...
like 3 weeks, basically.
Yeah. So K-State starts just a little after, like, grade schools, high school, stuff like that?
I think it's probably, like, the weekend of, like, the 20th or, like, the 24th, something like that would be my guess.
But I would also bet a lot of student athletes are probably doing online classes these days.
That's certainly possible.
I mean,
probable. Up
until the last 2 years, I remember trying to get interviews with student athletes. Oh, well, they only got this amount of times they got to get the class. Remember, that was always the thing with it was like Aoka Lee always had that going on. I remember Peyton Williams always had to be getting to class. I was like, God, I'm trying to get this interview, man. Skip class one time.
It is the 24th, so 3 basically full weeks of fall camp before classes officially begin.
Yeah, the last few years it hasn't been a problem.
No.
Because it's online classes.
Yeah.
And
it's yeah, we'll just leave it there.
I was way more of an online class than I was in person.
Like your preference or just your experience?
Well, my first year, I was always like an idiot scheduling a class for 8 a.m. I didn't think that would be a problem, and then turns out I like to go out and have a good time, and 8 a.m. is just a terrible time to wake up.
It's a lesson to learn.
Well, even a 9 o'clock class, which is a pretty common time for your first class, but even then it was like, man, it's a bit rough. As a college kid?
I think I had an 8 a.m. class one time, and it was I think it was either first or second semester at K-State. I never did that again.
Both online classes, right? Like when I was taking them, it was just, here's the work. You got a book, right? Go do it. Simple as that. So practice is underway, and I'm sure it was full of intensity. I'm sure it's been fun. I'm sure they're getting to work. We're exactly a month out, by the way. 31 days, 1 hour, 11 minutes, 45 seconds from now is September 5th, 6:01, and K-State Nichols at Bill Snyder Family Stadium. I want to thank earlier in the show, Drew Galloway from coming on. It's still coming up here in hour number 2. It is 20 questions and 20 shows. It is K-State's offensive breakout player for 2026. Again, on the offensive side of the football is today's question that we are previewing here today. But we are going to pause on that for just a moment because we're going to now turn our attention to the Kansas City Chiefs. Practice already underway. They just got started with pads. Let's get checked in with our first training camp update presented by K-State Credit Union. We now are joined by the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, Mitch Holthus. Mitch, I saw you guys had a little issue with the lightning. Intensity still going on inside?
Oh, yeah, for a while, but then they came back out. I actually put it on X where it looked like a scene from the Odyssey because they're coming down the hill. The indoor facility sets up on like the Acropolis in Greece, and they walk down the hill to the practice fields, and it never happens where like all 90 guys are coming at once. I go, wow, this is an organic moment. So I actually put it on Twitter/X, and then they got after it on the field. They were inside for just a short while, but it's actually been a really good start to this camp. Mitch, you can tell that there was some oil change and get the engine light off, because after going 3 years of going to 3 straight Super Bowls, guys actually postponed surgeries. There's just a vigor to this camp and a pretty good tempo.
One of the first things I heard about just coming across social media that Felix Anudike-Uzomah made a nice play or two. So is the word on the street correct that he's off to a really solid start?
Yes, and that's a great way to put it. Solid start. And this is his best start he's had in his NFL career. And he's finally healthy, I think, and getting some opportunities. Ashton Gelati's a really good player. We know that, and he's a big key to this team because of what the Chiefs will do defensively up front. And they're going to be way better up front. They're going to be a shock to the rest of the league with what's going on. But Felix is part of that rotation, but he's getting extra reps that he would not have gotten had Gelati not had the hamstring injury. So this is a chance now for Felix. He's getting more of a chance than he's ever had. He's repping with the first team, and he's showing up. He's doing a really good job. Now, he's not dominating every play, but the coaches have noticed. This is a much better start for Felix to this camp than any of his previous camps.
Two-parter for you, Mitch, starting with the first one. How has Kenneth Walker looked so far?
Ooh, gosh. Mama. Love having him. You can go to a high school game. I don't care if it's Manhattan High or Riley County or Rock Creek or here we go. I got to mention everybody. But you see a kid that you're going, that's different, right? The Dunnigan kid or whatever. You're like, wow, he's something else. That's what you see in Ken Walker. We're getting more from him than we thought we were going to get. He's in a system now that actually is going to play to his abilities more than even in Seattle. And I even talked to him, the fact that he can be a receiver and make impact big plays and explosive plays in the passing game, whether they're a design pass or one of those, Mahomes scramble. Now he's going to hit Walker on the fly. Walker, instead of going down at 6 yards, can make it a 60-yard touchdown. He's been spectacular in this camp, and he's integrated very well and ahead of schedule, even into the not only the scheme, but the culture here. He was built and made to be here. It's like he's been here since day one.
And then kind of a 10,000-foot view question based on Kenneth Walker. He talked about preferring being under center. Have you seen more of that being integrated into the offense so far?
Yeah, I think people can overanalyze that. Yeah, there's more under center, but this is not a team that's going to be under center a ton and may still have lower percentages being under center than most teams in the NFL. But that's my point about Ken Walker, that the misconception is that you've got to be under center for Walker to be effective. Not necessarily the case. And I've seen him already. Think of Kareem Hunt in his rookie year in 2017. If you go back to that, I know it's the ancient of days, but there was explosive plays to Ken Walker, even out of the shotgun. And in the short or long passing game to Kareem Hunt in those years. And Walker's had some big plays, but he's going to fit the system better than people realize instead of us changing the system to fit Ken Walker.
With the first couple of practices with pads on, are there any rookies standing out?
Oh, yeah. I'm really excited about that group. Now, we lost the 22 guys other than Karlaftis. They've now splintered all throughout the NFL, and I think Leo Chanel might be the biggest miss, and we know about McDuffie. But the point is, this rookie class is jumping into the middle of the ocean and swimming fast. Peter Woods is a stud. He's got a little Aaron Donald look to him. He's got the same build. His first step quickness is eye-popping. R. Mason Thomas, Oklahoma, off the edge. He's had the comps to Nick Bonito, and you can see it. In fact, Nick Bonito is the kid's mentor. They came from Fort Lauderdale. Mason Thomas, the reason he went to OU is Nick Bonito. So now the Chiefs have some quickness off the edge, and that will be something that can integrate very fast. Cyrus Allen got hurt Saturday, and it was like in a pooch punt cover drill, like the 9th rep, and he collided with Kaiir Elam, the former Buffalo first-round draft pick, and it looked really, really bad. Cyrus Allen had been tearing up camp. He looked like Keenan Allen. He wears number 13 with Allen on the back. I said you could like airbrush and put in Columbia blue and lightning bolts on there. You'd think it's Keenan Allen. And then he got hurt. So it's not super serious, like a deep bruise, but it's shelved him for the time being. But he was showing could have a day one impact. So this rookie class has got it going on. Jaden Kennedy, a slot corner candidate, played at Oregon before that Ole Miss, and he's had a really, really good start. And then I'm leaving out probably the biggest offensive story other than Mahomes, not missing a single beat 240 days after an ACL, LCL injury, is Khalil Benson, the right tackle, not drafted by anybody or us, and then really wasn't given a UDFA contract. And he played for Indiana last year in their national championship run. After the first day, and we're trying to, not go too far with this, the day one, starting day two till now, where we day 9 or whatever, he's been the number 1 right tackle and wasn't even drafted. So this 26 class, I don't want to get ahead of myself again, but there's a lot of similarities to the way the 2022 class started, and that led to 2 straight Super Bowl championships.
Mitch, you mentioned Mahomes in the first video I saw of him was, I believe it was in 7-on-7, and the center that snapped the ball to him, he dome-pieced him. He drilled the football into the back of his head. Outside of that play, are you giving Mahomes coming back from the knee injury an A so far?
A+.
Okay.
We've got to be, it's like, okay, so guys, he did not rep 11-on-11 during OTAs or minicamp. He did 7-on-7, doing 1-on-1, but they kept him out of 11-on-11. So I'm thinking, what was coach going to do to start camp? He has not missed a beat in anything, and he looks the same. And so he can move left, right. You don't look like there's a couple times when we didn't have pads on, he's in shells, he was kind of tugging at the knee brace, but he hasn't done any of that since the pads have been on. We've even run sprint option with him. Like, can we dump the sprint option? Let's not, this isn't Colin Klein 2012 Cats. Let's not, let's don't do that. But he hasn't missed a beat. He's made spectacular throws, and it's a miracle. Because again, we're less than 240 days from his ACL, LCL surgery, and it's like nothing ever happened. It's really kind of crazy to see it. But he's worked 7 days a week, and what I'll do is I had a chance to chat with him a little bit about it, and I'll send it to you, and you guys can play it on your show tomorrow. But he's worked 7 days a week for basically 7 months, 7 hours a day. I kid you not. I'm not exaggerating, and it shows because he's flying around like crazy, and so it's exciting to see it.
You mentioned Khalil Benson. I want to head to the other side of the line at the other tackle position. How has Josh Simmons looked so far? Is his wrist looking all right from last year?
Super excited about him. What you're going to see, and I'm going to throw in Kingsley Suamati in this. Suamati has been really good in this camp as well. He's found a home at left guard. And I think that those two almost become hand in hand because they're shoulder to shoulder. But there have been some plays, guys, the screen game, and it doesn't necessarily have to be Ken Walker. It can be Amari DiMercato. It can be Brashad Breeland, even Nebraska rookie Emmett Johnson. But the screen game, because of the athleticism of Josh Simmons, there was one today that was phenomenal. And in the red zone, Simmons is showing it. He's on the cusp. You just see it of being a top 5 left tackle in this league. His athleticism is crazy. He was able to kick out yesterday. They were working goal line situation, and they got a counter pitch. Fake into the line, they countered out to Brashard Smith, and his ability, Josh Simmons, to kick out and get to a backer and to a corner led to an easy touchdown. And so it's just the plays you see like the elite left tackles in this league make. Not saying he's there yet, but he's way ahead of where he was a year ago and especially where he was in the middle of last year.
All right, Mitch, last thought here. I need to get a quick Cats thought because we haven't had you on since the hiring of Colin Klein. So I need your first day of practice at Veneer. Colin is walking in to coach this team. Your preliminary thoughts on what K-State football could be in 26.
What they could be in 26?
Sure.
Challenge for a Big 12 championship.
Love it.
And the big difference is Avery Johnson. I've been around him this summer, you guys. I was around him a little bit, and I might be around them more in the near future. Okay? We'll leave it at that. Avery Johnson's not the same guy. Avery Johnson's worked, of course, with Mahomes' people, and Avery stayed, you guys. He stayed, and he fought. And if you look at the last couple of years and what he did, getting the Pop-Tarts Bowl bid, getting that win, then up and down the next year, the loss at Houston, but then he came fighting back. They won the bowl game over Rutgers. Then last year, but he rallied last year. His Kansas game was spectacular. It was a great, when you look at his QBR. But he's not the same dude. He looks stronger. I think he's way more mature, mentally and emotionally. And in my conversations I've had with him this summer, I feel like I'm not even talking to the same guy. I try, again, not to get too excited. I think he's poised, if they can get an offensive line to mesh, to have a super big-time breakout year. And I'm not, defensively, there's a lot of uncertainty, I know. I just think this is a team. And I would look at the schedule, this is just the complete opposite of a year ago. And you know I love Chris Kleiman. I love him. But the expectations were way too high. When I looked at the schedule going, man, I don't know. This year's just the opposite. The door's flown open for these guys. And they have a chance to get off to a good start. And with Colin and what he's done already, I think they have a chance for an outstanding season. But you got to go week to week, and you got to attack camp. They're getting camp started now. But I'm super fired up. I feel the difference than a year ago where I thought they were overrated and thought they're going to have to grind it out and get to 7-5. This year, I think they have a chance to challenge to be a Big 12 champion. And Colin might kick me in the butt for it, but I'm just telling you, that's what I'm sensing.
Mitch, we'll do it again next week. Appreciate it, sir. We'll catch up next week. Thank you.
See you, boys. And I'll send you some of this Mahomes sound you guys can play on the show.
Please do. We'll use it. It's the voice.
Okay. Talk to you.
Voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, Mitch Holthus. We'll take a break. We'll get a little Fox News in, then we'll take a break, and then we'll get to hour 2 of the game. And that's coming up next here on KMAN.
Manhattan's first for news, sports, weather, and talk since 1950. This is News Radio KMAN.
School buses are on the roads again.
The arm on the bus pops out, says stop. Flashing lights in your sights. The arm on the bus pops out, says stop. And sometimes takes your picture.
Red flashing lights and the stop arm mean stop.
The driver in the car is late for work. Goes on past way too fast. The driver in the car is late for work. Uh-oh, he got caught.
Avoid a costly fine and possibly deadly mistake.
The ticket's gonna cost $400. That's a lot, and it sucks. The ticket's gonna cost $400, and that's a chunk of change.
Obey school bus stop arms. Keep children safe.
What will you do when you see the sign? We've got your pick, don't be a d-. What will you do when you see the sign? S-T-O-P, stop, stop!
Brought to you by the Kansas Highway Patrol.
Get ready, Manhattan. It's time for the biggest flooring deal of the season at Carpet One of Manhattan. Be at Carpet One of Manhattan Saturday, August 22nd from 8 a.m. to noon for our annual remnant sale. Carpet One of Manhattan is clearing out in-stock remnants at unbeatable prices, perfect for upgrading your home with style and durability. Whether you're remodeling or refreshing, now's the time to save big on flooring that looks amazing and stands up to real life. Open special hours on Saturday, August 22nd from 8 a.m. to noon at Carpet One of Manhattan. Quality floors, incredible savings, one morning only, Saturday, August 22nd.
News Radio, KMAN, weather.
Right now in Manhattan, 75 degrees, overcast skies, wind out of the north at around 7 miles an hour. Still 20% chance of showers and thunderstorms heading into the rest of the evening. Then tonight, 70% chance of rain, mainly before 4 in the morning. That'll continue until 7 a.m. though, at just a slight chance, 10% chance of rain. Then a gradual clearing of the clouds tomorrow with a high near 84. 60% chance of rain tomorrow night. And a slight chance of showers and thunderstorms on Friday with a gradual clearing of the clouds and a high of 90.
K-Man Daily Weather is presented by Fox Business Systems. How much does downtime cost you and your business? It's hour two, the game after work. Mitch Fortner and Cole Dutchendorf. Want to thank Drew Galloway from K-State Online and the voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holthus, joining us in hour one. Did you hear last night NASA or SpaceX sent a rocket straight into the moon?
I did just hear that on the Fox News brief.
So I was gonna try to stay up and see if I could see it with my with the naked eye in person, and then I fell asleep.
Didn't work so well. Yeah.
No, but then I saw a video of it, and the video was zoomed in 200 times to see this thing crash into the moon, and there's a 60-foot crater, dust going everywhere. It's supposedly to study more of the moon, what the moon has when it comes to I don't know, they found water one time or something. I don't know. Just to find what the moon's all about.
What's going on with the moon?
Yeah, what's happening, moon. But also, I guess we're going to be sending people back to the moon in a couple of years. So just kind of get more study done. And some people didn't like this idea. Why would you slam something straight into the moon? Well, but here's the deal. Meteors crash into the moon daily. Daily. It happens all the time. 100,000 meteors in a year hitting the moon, at least. It happens all the time. But I would have thought a rocket traveling at 5,400 miles per hour could leave a crater bigger than 60 feet.
Did we ask the moon beforehand for permission? Because this feels pretty rude. Just to launch something from down here just for the purpose of a scientific study. It's kind of rude.
I mean, if the moon was real estate, it's got to be cheap because it's just beat to hell.
Yeah. Not a great neighborhood up there.
What's one more crater?
I've heard the atmosphere is terrible. But on the moon, that is.
Cole, I hope there's a community out there that just enjoys those jokes. That is just laughing at the radio.
Crack myself up
they think
sometimes.
You're the best in radio now because of these NASA jokes.
Hope I won over some hearts.
Well, it is hour 2. Tim Everson from the Mercury going to join us a little bit later on before he goes out to Bottle Caps to host some trivia tonight to talk about the new addition to the K-State women's basketball team that I'm sure was, this was in the making for a while to add this 6'5" center from Greece who has some pretty impressive tape. Plus, ask us anything. We'll wrap it up as well. So, let's get to question 3. It is 20 questions in 20 shows to preview the K-State football season. Today's question, and this question will be mirrored for tomorrow's show as well. The last 2 days we've been talking about offensive and defensive preseason MVPs. Today we're talking about breakout players, but we're going to stay with the offensive side of the football. Breakout player, offensive side. This is somebody who is a returning player looking to make more of a name for themselves, which some are already, famous in their own ways, but trying to make it a much more of an impact on the field. Stats adding up to that impact. And for most of them, yes, making a name for themselves. Maybe one or two guys in particular is a name already known, but technically hasn't made that impact quite yet, if you know what I mean. So with that being said, offensive breakout player for K-State football in 2026, Cole will start with his prediction.
I'm going to kind of break down my thought process and how I arrived to where I arrived. Honestly, I think there aren't, when you look at who the offense has and who they returned from last season, there's not a ton of guys that I think in terms of like breaking out because you either brought guys in at that same position that are going to be competing for the same spot or they've already broken out. So, obviously quarterback Avery Johnson is going to be the starter. The only reason you'd have a breakout is if he would get injured for some reason. Running backs, I would already consider Joe Jackson has kind of already broken out. Rushing for 911 yards is getting to that point. And then your other two that you think are going to be in the rotation transferred in. Wide receiver, a lot of the same stuff. Again, Jerron Tibbs, I would consider him already broken out. You could maybe throw like Adonis Moise in there. Maybe one of the younger guys, Porter the fourth, could maybe be thrown in there.
Larry Porter. Yeah.
But I think, for that, you brought in a lot of solid talent at the wide receiver position. So I immediately went to the offensive line and then kind of the obvious pick. But starting with the offensive line, there are certainly a couple of guys here who could have that breakout year and honestly might need to have that breakout year, or at least it would be extremely helpful if they did because of what you and Drew talked about in hour 1, and that is the right side of the offensive line. There's going to be a chance for someone to have that kind of taking the next step, truly breaking out onto the scene, winning a starting spot early in fall camp and running with it. I'm rooting for it to be George Fitzpatrick. I think you could consider him a breakout, even though it'd be it's his 5th year of college football. Haven't seen him in a K-State jersey doing it because of the unfortunate circumstances last year. So I'm rooting for the breakout guy to be George Fitzpatrick, for him to come in, for him to dominate, for him to win the right tackle position. But probably the two more realistic ones are, I think, two names that were mentioned in hour 1. And so I feel like I'm plagiarizing a little bit, but it's Gus Hawkins. I think when you're looking at the kind of, he was highly touted coming out of high school. So if he can become the player that scouts thought he could be at the collegiate and ultimately at the NFL level potentially, he showed a little bit of that last year. He played in 7 games. He had a little bit of experience. He even had a start against Army. He's going to be an upperclassman. He has 2 years in the program for his body to develop, which I think offensive line and defensive line probably the 2 toughest positions for you to kind of grow into that, to the physicality that the position demands. I think he certainly could be a candidate. I also think Dylan Villarreal could also be one of those guys because, again, you're talking about a true freshman who got some legitimate chops last year and playing in some games. You mentioned it. Hey, is the correlation? He played in the Utah game. That's why they ran for a school record. So I think he could legitimately compete for right guard / right tackle starting position day 1 of camp. But I think the obvious one, and I haven't gone with the obvious one maybe for the offensive and defensive MVPs, I'm going to go with the obvious one here, and I'm going to go to Lincoln Kure. And this is a guy who, for a ton of reasons, should break out this season. First, you got to hope he's going to be healthy going into the season. If you remember, he missed the first 3 games of the year due to injury last season. We haven't heard anything about an injury, so knock on wood / we assume that he's going to be healthy going into the season. He had a full season now to get used to Big 12 football. It's a little bit different than Goodland, with all due respect to Western Kansas and 3A. Division I Big 12 football is different. He's gotten used to that now. He's gotten used to the physicality. He's gotten used to the speed. I think that's extremely important. It was reported, if you recall, back in talking at spring ball, that during the winter that he had gained the most muscle and lost the most fat during winter. So we're talking about a body that is extremely prepared for a full season of college football. He's got another year with Avery. He's in a better offensive system with one of the best young minds in the game in Colin Klein. And there's one less tight end ahead of him with Will Swanson's departure in the transfer portal. So all of that, I think it's Lincoln Cure's time to really break out.
Yeah, Lincoln Cure, and not to call it, Lincoln Cure is not a cop-out answer. We were talking cop-out answers earlier when talking about, MVPs because of Avery Johnson. Avery's the quarterback. He is he's about to be a 30-year starter and things like that. Wendell Gregory is, in my opinion, the cop-out on defense. And neither of us actually went with Wendell Gregory. And I personally didn't go with Wendell Gregory because he's still pretty young, but he's got a lot of room to grow. There's a lot of areas he needs to grow, but he has a high ceiling. And that's where I think there is a bit of a difference on where you should go with the MVP. For a breakout, though, Lincoln Cure is already a known name. He was known before he stepped on campus. He was still running track at Goodland when he was already a breakout name for K-State because he was the first ever 5-star. But you mentioned it. He had a slow start to his year because he got banged up. He's not playing in Ireland. He's not playing against North Dakota. I don't even know what game he debuted necessarily. But I do remember the first time he touched the football, and all the shows I've been on so far, I've had the opportunity to complain about that. It still kind of bothered me. The first touch Lincoln Cure had of the football, he's throwing a pass. It's a trick play. And he throws an interception. I was like, oh, my God. That's how we're...
Welcome to K-State, Lincoln.
That's how we're getting him over the nerves other than, throwing some blocks, the ball going to his way, but he's actually throwing the football. Not that he couldn't do it. But this is a true freshman that had barely played any college football, and he's getting involved in a trick play. I just thought that was a bit of a stretch. Now, if it would have worked... Yes, of course, the tone is different, but just the idea is crazy.
Well, and if I recall correctly, that was the UCF game where it went 2 long play. It was like a 40-yard Avery Johnson run, then a 20-yard Joe Jackson run or Dylan Edwards, and then it was like, all right, Lincoln, let's do a little reverse action. Throw it 30 yards down the field.
Your memory's a lot better than mine, and if that's exactly true, talk about plays that you just didn't need at the time.
Dial it up.
Yes. In my opinion, honestly, Lincoln Cure is a really good answer. And at times I thought maybe he's the only answer. I think it's just the clear expectation. If you're just thinking expectation for him to absolutely break out, he probably better. Because, first of all, playing at the tight end position, it's no secret, and this is things that Zach Nemechek, who gave us a little intel about what practices looked like a little bit, but Colin, coaches, they're going to admit to this. They're not just going 11. They're going to go 12, 13 personnel. You're going to see a lot of tight ends on the field. Lincoln was getting a lot more targets and a lot more playing time in the second half of last season. But he just only ended up with 6 catches for 31 yards. What we pictured for Lincoln last year, that's not it. That wasn't it. The ball was definitely going towards Garrett Oakley a lot more than any of the other tight ends. He was one of the leaders in receptions and yards and certainly touchdowns as well. That is a comfort zone for Avery, and I will say that there was some pretty good schemes on getting Garrett open for some easy scores, but it didn't feel like as easy as they were maybe a year ago. There were some tough ones. There were tough ones in there as well. But I do have more candidates. First at wide receiver, you mentioned the 2 that I was thinking of. Larry Porter Jr., who did not play last year, but could very well be very talented. He's on my short list to see on the field a little bit. Adonis Moise got a pretty decent amount of playing time last year, nearly 200 snaps, so quite a bit. but 6 catches, 56 yards. He carried the ball a couple of times. Offensive line is the other. Well, running back, real quick, Montario Elston. He will not probably be in the rotation for a consistent amount of carries. Really more of a breakout is his opportunity to return kicks.
He's speedy.
Its offensive line, like you mentioned, is the other area that has like truly legit potential to have multiple breakouts. And you mentioned a couple of them. Plus, Drew, his pick was Dylan Villarreal. Well, it's right guard it's that one position that you're like, okay, we don't have a starter in Magic Marker yet. But the depth is also a pretty big question mark. Charlie Adams was brought up. Cal Poly-Kit, yes, he played well. But we don't know if he's a starter or if he's going to be in the rotation. Dylan Villarreal, he's pretty young, but he did play a little bit last year, played in 4 games, and he played a lot in that Utah game. He played a lot against Colorado, and Joe Jackson was really good in those games. He had a hand in that. He really did have a hand in that. I don't know if like a Chase Duarte who came over with, from San Diego State with Coach Schmidt. Keaton Jones is a transfer from Missouri. And at right tackle, though, there are familiar names. But one of them hasn't played yet. But Gus Hawkins did play. He played quite a bit, but his season ended early because of an injury. If it's not Lincoln Cure, honestly, in my opinion, it's George Fitzpatrick. To me, it's very important that George plays this year. That if he starts or he's a backup, at least in the rotation, but he's obviously potential to start. Because last year, he was supposed to be the starting left tackle. He was the only offensive lineman that we knew of that was like legit going to be a starter as a transfer.
And that was basically day one.
It was pretty much. I mean, he was the first starter mentioned out of all the transfers from a year ago. Other than, we're talking about an announced starter, not the ones that we just assumed like a Deron Tibbs and a J.B. Bradley, who was going to be the 2 and the 3 to Jace Brown, who, of course, is transferred, is now at LSU. But George Fitzpatrick is somebody that played a lot at Ohio State. He's a national champion. And if he was still healthy and he didn't have to sit out last year, like he was supposed to be really special last year. Can he still do that, though? Is he healthy? Is he ready to go? Is he practicing? Those are questions that we will hopefully get answered on Tuesday. Gus Hawkins is not far behind. Dylan Villarreal is up there as well. But the biggest expectation for a breakout is Lincoln Cure. And at the very least, like kind of where things are at with not just Colin Klein being back, but the use of tight ends. We know that tight ends are going to be used a lot in this offense. There's room for a 4th tight end. So get to work younger tight ends, battle for that playing time. There's the potential of, does Lincoln get more playing time over, maybe not necessarily over, but maybe taking some reps from a Garrett Oakley? There is that potential. But it just kind of seems like your mind can run amok, as in it can just go nuts with the potential and what Lincoln Cure can do in year number 2. Healthy, ready to go, and them just using him. Like using him not just as a blocker, but as a slot guy, and he's going to line up out there. He's just got that kind of talent. So it's fun just to daydream about what could be done just by using Lincoln Cure in the right ways. By the way, looking at the text line, looking at the post on Facebook, it is Lincoln Cure across the board, with the exception of a couple, one mentioning George Fitzpatrick, one mentioning Avery Johnson. We don't need to hit the breaking sounder, the breaking news sounder, but I will just go and tell you right now, Avery Johnson already broke out.
He's tied for the record for the most passing touchdowns in school history already. So
he broke out against Texas Tech and 5 rushing touchdowns as a freshman.
4 years ago.
I mean, that was a breakout game. The thing about, breakout games, offensive linemen don't get breakout games. I mean, it takes an educated guy. Nobody wants to watch the offensive lineman. You're watching wherever the ball's at. From quarterback to running back, from quarterback to receiver or tight end, that's where you're watching. Like, I'll even admit myself, like, most of my film watching on the linemen are after the game, bye weeks, but mostly at the end of the season. And, who's going to be on the roster for the next year and things like that. That's why I was, talking about John Pastore earlier this week on Monday, where he's my offensive MVP. I knew he was good, but going back and watching film from 4 other games from this past season, I was like, damn, I didn't realize he was that good. There's a reason he was second team all Big 12. Because he could block 2 guys at once on a pass rush. He was very helpful to whoever was at left guard, in that particular play. He kind of tore up some dudes. And that's why he's got the potential to be a draft pick, in this upcoming NFL draft. But he's not alone. The thing is that's the thing. He's not alone. We already got, Tanner Morley does have eligibility left after this year. He could choose to come back next year if he wanted to do so. But I got a feeling Tanner Morley, if he, obviously things would depend, but keep him on your radar for stuff like that. There's a lot of potential with this offensive line. It's so important for George Fitzpatrick to play and break out. For Lincoln Cure, we all expect him to be that. We expect plays to be dialed up for Lincoln Cure and let him just go be an athlete. And nonetheless, the blocking that he can do for you. That Utah game was a sign on how good Lincoln could be a bulldozer, not just a pass catcher.
Until you got that stupid, terrible holding call on one of them.
Yep, debatable. I remember Curry coming on and saying that was one of the worst calls.
Said it was teach tape.
He had ever seen.
Yeah. Hurt the soul a little bit.
Yeah, that's a defensive player just losing for about 40 yards.
Yeah.
Punishing a guy for a textbook block down the
mauling
field.
him.
And as you could see, the block still made a lot of sense as that play was continuing on.
Mm-hmm.
What do you say? We take a break?
Let's do it.
When we come back, we are scheduled to be joined by Tim Everson. Tim has an update and some thoughts on a new addition to the K-State women's basketball team. Yes, it was announced today. Another international player has been added to the 26-27 roster. That's coming up next on The Game.
The club earned a 109-87 victory at the Atlanta Dream Monday to boost their record to 21-9. Five-time All-Star Jackie Young sparked the Aces with 28 points, 11 rebounds, and 10 assists for her third career triple-double. The league's leading scorer and reigning MVP, A'ja Wilson, chipped in 23 as they logged their 12th road win of the year. Head coach Becky Hammond's offense ranks third in the W with 92 points per game.
Not only my players, but the players across the league, like you're seeing 30-point games more often, 40-point games. It's just the scoring goes to really the work, but also the skill set that these women now have.
The Aces in the midst of a 5-game road swing as they tip off with a high-powered Indiana Fever on Thursday. With Today in Women's Sports, I'm Amy Lawrence on Westwood One.
COVID-19 has cast a spotlight on the stark inequalities that drive poverty. The poorest communities in the U.S. and around the world are suffering the most. Oxfam believes we can put systems in place to protect health and livelihoods in the future if we work together with dignity and compassion. Learn how you can help offer safety to the most vulnerable and fight for a more resilient future at oxfamamerica.org. Sponsored by Oxfam America.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With the Capital One Venture X card, you earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy. Plus, you get premium benefits at a collection of luxury hotels when you book on Capital One Travel. And with Venture X, you get access to over 1,000 airport lounges worldwide. Open up a world of travel possibilities with the Capital One Venture X card. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
I'm Cole Dutchendorf with the Game Sports Update brought to you by Bottle Cap Sports Bar. Another day, another K-State football player named to a trophy watch list earlier this afternoon. This time it was fifth-year senior Garrett Oakley being named to the John Mackey Award watch list, presented to the nation's most outstanding tight end each season. Garrett Oakley has already established himself as one of the best tight ends in K-State history. The Nebraska native has the school record for touchdown receptions by a tight end with 13, good for 10th overall. Oakley is also inside the top 5 at his position in both career receptions with 71 and yards with 779. In his second year of being on the John Mackey Award watch list, Oakley is just the 4th Wildcat ever to receive the honor. Ben Sinnott is the lone semifinalist in K-State history, coming back in 2023. K-State women's basketball got its center. Earlier this morning, 6'5" Greece native Joanna Tabakou signed to the roster, increasing K-State's roster size to 11. The 6'5" center played for Greece at the 2025 FIBA Under-20 Women's Eurobasket Division B, averaging a solid 6 points and 7.3 rebounds. That included a 10.10 rebound output against Slovakia in the final game of the tournament. That continues the trend of international flavor on K-State's roster ahead of next year, making it 6 countries represented.
Well, the game continues. Mitch Fortner, Cole Dutchendorf. Now joining us in studio, Tim Everson from the Manhattan Mercury and from Power Cat Game Day. He is the Mercury's beat writer for K-State women's basketball. So I thought it'd be appropriate to have Tim in to talk about a new player for the K-State women's basketball team. Added to the team officially today with the press release, the announcement. And I'm sure this has been something that's been in the works for a long time. Joanna Tabakou from Greece.
Yeah. 6'5".
6'5". Needed size?
Needed, absolutely needed.
Athletic size?
One of the definite holes that this team had, that this roster had, from what we were able to kind of tell. I mean, there's a good number of players coming back, but having a legit center with some experience. You have Ivona Skecic coming back. You have Hermiah White as well, and they definitely, I think, will have a role in some capacity. But what I think Joanna adds is someone who can be kind of that primary, rim protector, someone who's a little bit more skilled. She's 21, so she's older than, even though she's listed as a freshman now, that may not end up being what she is by the time we get to the season, especially with the 5-5 rule. We'll just have to see kind of what the NCAA says. K-State didn't have a solid answer on that as of today. But, that kind of experience down low is going to be big. And also, having her there, it means that you can have someone like Brandy Harrod playing her more natural position at like the 4. You don't have to have someone who's barely over 6 foot trying to, guard some of the taller players that you're going to run into the Big 12. So, I mean, it feels good. It feels like you definitely fills a major need that the K-State women had. And so now it's just kind of, you wonder, is this it, or is there maybe 1 or 2 more coming down the pike that we'll learn about before the end of the summer? We'll have to find out.
I mean, my guess would be, yes, there's more coming. Are they from overseas? Yes. Could they still be playing basketball right now? Will be, here a little later? Probably.
Yeah.
You mentioned she's 21. It's actually a pretty big key here because I know Ivana Škekić, when she was added to the roster, she had literally just graduated high school.
Absolutely, yeah.
And she was a semester addition, in December, and she was with the team for 2 or 3 weeks. She was out there. She played a little bit, for like 2 minutes, and she was a bit of a deer in headlights. I would hopefully assume that Tabaku is more ready to go.
Yeah.
And play, high level of basketball. I don't know if that necessarily means she's starter. She's coming off the bench for that first game, but that could mean that. I mean, she'll be here for practice. She'll be here hopefully for the school year, and and be ready to go here in a very short amount of time here. But now K-State's team is majority international players. Out of the 11, we're now at 6, right?
It's the international cats. It's it's crazy how this kind of evolved from, and talking to Jeff Meddy earlier this summer, he said that it really wasn't a concentrated thing, but with the transfer portal being what it is, what NIL being what it is, I think they've kind of found that at least with women's basketball, there is kind of a market and probably a price point that they can work better in with some of those international players. And so, I mean, in addition to, what we've talked about, another player who is playing overseas right now is Shyla Inde, who is currently, helping the Spanish national team, the U18, the U20, one of the two, kicking some serious butt. She almost had a double-double versus Croatia. Spain beat Croatia 100-25, and I think they play again tomorrow. So it is interesting, but I mean they've found kind of an avenue that they can kind of work in and have some success. And you got to be creative when you don't have the TCU type money to throw around, or the Oklahoma State type money to throw around.
Tabaku playing in the for Greece in the 2025 FIBA Under-20 Eurobasket, averaging 6 points, 7.5 rebounds per game. Now, two things that watching the little amount of film that you can find on her, unless you're going to just watch full games and look for highlights. A hell of a rebounder. I mean, very good rebounder, and she's pretty athletic. She will catch the ball high post or high baseline and back down her defender. And she wants you to come double team, and that's obviously going to open up the offense if you're able to do that efficiently. But she does take some long strides to the basket, and she is tough to beat with those long arms.
Yeah.
So to me, it is the most potential I do see out of any of the bigs that K-State will have on the roster.
And I think something to remember, this isn't gonna, take care of it against every single team that you come up against. Ayoka Lee was so good not only because she was super tall, but she was also super skilled in how she was able to maneuver around the basket. However, just having kind of a baseline set of skills and being 6'5", that's going to get it done versus a lot of the lesser teams that you run up against. So it'll be interesting to see how they're able to match her up.
And so this is the big difference between the men's team and the women's team. All of their fives, they are traditional centers. You're not going to see three-pointers, although Yoki was, she was perfect from the field in her career.
Yes, she was.
From three-point range. But Škekić isn't a distant shooter. Of course, Ramaya White's, she's a traditional center, and Tabaku will also be. She's going to post you up, but she looks pretty strong too. She'll push you around a little bit.
I think that they need to add that to Ramaya's game. I think that's the next level of Ramaya White's game.
Let's putting the ball on the floor and
just get her out on get her out on the elbow. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, get her out in the corner. Bomb it away.
I'm not as confident as you are. She's got a limited game, but if she can benefit you in particular situations, I'm okay.
Absolutely,
with that.
And that's I think that's kind of the biggest takeaway is now I think you kind of have someone for hopefully almost anything that you're going to run into down low, whoever you end up facing. So I'm excited about this edition.
You got trivia tonight?
I do.
League play?
Second week of league play. However, we do have a makeup week later down the road. So if you missed the first week, come out tonight. We have room for you. We'd love to see you. And you won't be behind. So if you want to come and try to earn the prestigious Bottle Caps Cup, it's plus some cash. It's free. Come out, have some delicious food, play some trivia, make fun of me doing my thing, whatever.
You're a good host.
Well, thank you.
Starts at 7:00.
So are you.
At this?
And just in general.
Oh, I appreciate that. My trivia, I'm not Regis.
We don't need to bring Regis into this.
Well, look here, if you want a second shot at some Who Wants to Be a Millionaire,
Regis was a low blow, man.
I could also work in my Regis a little bit.
Yeah.
Yes, if you didn't hear the game night last week,
it's not worth.
You got $1.
It's not worth.
You got $1.
I will say and this is just my own hubris coming in. I was listening to Stump the Shaw.
Didn't go so well.
I was surprised how well I was doing. I may want a piece of AJ. I'm not
taking my spot is crazy.
I challenger.
I don't want to. I'm not trying to take anything from anybody, but I was. I knew the autumn wind. I knew that.
I had no clue.
Me neither.
I know I came up with a question, but I had no clue about that.
It's how they opened when the Raiders did Hard Knocks.
Oh, interesting.
That's how they opened it. And so I knew it from that.
I don't think I didn't even take a second to listen to the song. I've never heard it either. Plus, you look at a Raiders fan and you don't think
poems.
You don't think of
jail.
You don't think of the wind.
The autumn wind is like a raider.
You think, am I going to get out of here alive?
Well,
and with my wallet.
Yes. That is very true. That is very true.
All right, Tim, I'll let you get to trivia. 7:00 Bottle Caps. Be there, everybody.
Be there, be square.
We'll take a break. Got more of the game. Up next, K-Man.
See him on the sidelines for the first time as head coach of the Wildcats on Saturday, September 5th. To celebrate the return of number 7, you can now get $7 off all home opener tickets. Just visit kstatesports.com/tickets, add Nichols tickets to your cart, and enter promo code CK7 at checkout. Order now to pack Bill Snyder Family Stadium 50,000 strong for the return of Coach Klein. Go Cats!
In Manhattan, building community means more than bricks and beams. It means innovation and partnership. At McCown Gordon Construction, we deliver feature-focused solutions to projects that shape our region. From advanced research labs to vibrant education, healthcare, and community hubs. We're not just building projects, we're building the future of the Flint Hills with unmatched customer experience and value-driven strategies. We're building for tomorrow. Visit kansas.mccown.gordon.com.
On Tuesday night, Tarek Skubal made his debut for the LA Dodgers. 6 innings, 4 hits, 2 runs, 2 earned, 6 strikeouts, and 2 walks. Dodgers lost to the Cubs 5-1. LA hasn't been playing that well recently for them. They're riding a losing streak. In fact, they have the second best record in the National League, and they're closing in on potentially the third best record with the way the Braves are playing in the same National League. So based on that, oh my God, maybe we won't have a lockout because everyone thought we were going to have a lockout just because Skubal went to the Dodgers. You know what? They're not guaranteed a number 1 overall seed. They're not guaranteed home field throughout. They're not guaranteed a World Series because they won 2 in a row and they got a 2-time Cy Young Award winner, a reigning Cy Young Award winner. This is what makes it all interesting, is that the Dodgers still have a capability of losing. They're 3-7 in their last 10. They've lost 5 games in a row. Milwaukee's better and Atlanta could be better. It's going to be awesome. It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. Coming up in 60 seconds, Selling a Dream.
Your ambition just met its match with Robinhood. You play for the win, not just on game day, every day. Channel that drive into your money. Robinhood puts you in control, all on one platform. You expect more from yourself. Expect more from your money. Get started today at Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Again, that's Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Your money, your move.
I'm David Ortiz. When I lost my mom, she was only 46. And I lost my dad to cancer. It was the worst pain I ever felt. It made me think, what will happen with the people I love when my time is up? That's why I have life insurance. Ethos makes it easy. It's all online, take about 10 minutes, and you can get up to $3 million in coverage.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/game. That's ethos.com/game. Paid testimonial. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Let's talk some Akron football. The Akron football team put out a promotion, an offensive coordinator for the game. One lucky fan will be able to script the opening drive in their home opener. Extra chance to win with every new season ticket holder you refer. Random drawing amongst season ticket holders. Drawing will be held on August 19th, and you read the fine print with the head coach, of course, that they are going to do this in coordinates with the head coach. Think about what they're doing. It is brilliant. They are selling a dream. How many of us would do anything to play college sports or to have played college sports, to coach in college, to coach a game, to call a singular play? Sure, the offensive coordinator and the head coach are going to have the final approval, but the concept of selling tickets with the chance at a raffle to be able to call one singular play, that is the ultimate example of selling a dream. Kudos to Akron and their staff for at least including the dreams of their fans. For the ESPN Radio Sports Beat, I'm Evan Cohen.
News Radio, KMAN, weather.
Right now in Manhattan, overcast with overcast sky 75 outside with wind out of the north at around 7 miles an hour. Heading into tonight, 70% chance of rain and thunderstorms, mainly before 4 in the morning with a low of 66. There is still a slight chance of rain before 7 a.m. tomorrow morning as well. After that, a gradual clearing of the clouds and a high near 84. 60% chance of precipitation overnight Thursday, 30% chance of rain on Friday with a high near 90.
All right, we're back for a few more moments here on the game. I should let it kick in, even though there's no lyrics. Yahoo! There it is. It's one of your classic game day songs. Mitch Fortner, Cole Dutchendorf. If you missed the first hour of the show, Drew Galloway from KSO, the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, Mitch Holthus. Plus, just a few moments ago, Tim Everson from the Mercury coming in to talk a little K-State women's basketball. Adding, let me go over the name again, Joanna Tabaku. Does that sound Greek?
The main thing I base my Greek knowledge off of is athletes. So like Giannis Antetokounmpo is the biggest one, but also heading to tennis, there's this dude named Stefanos Tsitsipas. So
what a name.
And so that has that same TS beginning with, so I completely messed it up on the first try for Joanna. All
right, so one other thing I wanted to cover here before we get to some Ask Us Anything is K-State sent out an email earlier today just stating the website, like if you look at rosters, is going to look different now because of the 5 for 5. You get 5 years to play college athletics, no more red shirts. You know, you get 5 years of eligibility. That's it. That is an NCAA rule. And so the classification's changing a little bit. You're no longer going to see redshirt freshman, redshirt sophomore, redshirt senior, whatever. Now you're going to see 5 things. Now there's still freshmen, which would be FR. There's still sophomore, SO, second year. Third year is a junior, right? JR. Fourth year, senior, SR. For the 5th year, it'll just say 5th. But K-State also doing us a solid and helping us out with clearly stating who's freshman, who's sophomore. If an athlete is out of eligibility with this season, they're going to be listed as a 5th year. Anybody that's listed as a senior will still have their choice of playing another year of college athletics. Like, let me give you an example. Let me go to the K-State football team. Gabe Powers, Rex Van Wy, Brandon White, Caleb Patterson, John Pastore, Garrett Oakley, Mekhi Mason,
Avery Johnson,
Sterling Lockett. No. These are 5th-year guys that I just mentioned.
5th year.
Those are 5th-year guys. This is their last year. Jacob Knuth, running back Jay Harris is a 5th year. George Fitzpatrick is a 5th year. Travis Bates a 5th year. But Jerron Tibbs, and I'm just going to name a handful here, Jason Prevard, who's in the secondary, linebacker Asa Newsome, lineman Tanner Morley, corner Donovan McIntosh, wide receiver Josh Manning, and yes, quarterback Avery Johnson are listed as seniors. So, after this year, they would have a chance to come back for a 5th year. Now, Avery and his decision on what to do at that point that is a different discussion for another time. I would rather have that discussion in November.
And ideally, he's playing too well to make it worth coming back for a 5th year because he's getting looks at the NFL. That would be the dream scenario, I think.
Which still, again, this is a conversation for another day, just kind of a thought or two on that. Avery, NFL, it would take a team that would need a particular type of quarterback like an Avery to fill a particular role. That's kind of how things are right now. I'm not saying he's not a draft pick, but,
he's not currently an NFL starting quarterback caliber.
No.
Correct.
No. Well, and another thing to think about here is the 27 quarterback draft class is stacked.
It's loaded. A lot of dudes in that class.
Because remember, like a Trinidad Chambliss, he got an injunction. He can play another year.
He was potentially going to be the number 2 overall pick last year. Arch
Manning is probably going to go. Julian Sayin leaving early at Ohio State. Dante Morador. That's just, and I'm forgetting some others, yeah, it's going to be
Cole Ballard at KU.
Even Cole Ballard at KU, who doesn't even know if he's going to start this year. Could be the other guy.
Both quarterbacks are draft picks,
Yeah, something like that. Well, now I'm forgetting his name. We need to move on because I'm starting to forget names. Let's do a little Ask Us Anything, and then if the name hits me, we'll talk about it. Andy Koltnick did get a quarterback to the NFL.
Well, we heard about during the ESPN update, the Akron, the thing that they're doing. If you didn't hear, for our listeners, you enter for season tickets, I believe. And
Jason Bean, there it is,
Mr. Bean.
We
yes.
got there.
Anyways, you can. The season ticket holders have a chance to help with the offensive coordinator and the coach to script the first drive of the season. So my question for you, I'm gonna have you put the headset on, the proverbial headset, of course. Help me script these first couple of plays for the Akron Zips.
Well, I have no idea who's even on that roster, what kind of offense they run, and
let's just say you have full creative control over what this first drive is going to look like.
I'm probably throwing a bomb the first play, because I don't care.
We got to test the waters early as well. You got to just feel out the defense a little bit.
Who's game number 1 against?
That's a good question. That actually is something that I should look up.
If they're playing, San Jose State.
Ooh, they're at Wake. Oh, wait, is it the first home game? If it's the first home game, it's Robert Morris. If it's the first game of the season, it is at Wake Forest.
Yeah, throw a bomb, and then if it's second down and long, then that's when you become a boring OC, and you probably just call a draw play.
Yep, I'm with it there.
Pick up. You're hoping 4 or 5 yards, third and medium, and then it's You're probably looking at a passing down. So I'm probably going to have my X run a drag because it works really well in the college football video game.
Yeah, it does.
Hear
me out. All 4 players run short of the sticks and throw it to whoever's not open.
I'm getting on that phone and chewing some ass. I'm OC. I'm still OC. So I'm getting on the phone. What was that? The first down marker was the 35, not the 33.
Shout out to him.
And I'm probably chewing out the coach that's up there at that time anyway. I'm like, this is what we work on. 20 practices, and this is what we got.
We had my 15 scripted plays, and this is the best we could do with them.
I'm going to be real Connor Riley.
I think you should be.
Because Connor Riley was a ball of fire.
I heard he would. There were some words shared up top.
The PA booth, the booth is right next to the K-State coaches. And when Connor Riley was the OC, there was a lot of screaming. There was a lot of yelling. There was a lot. And it was always him. When Colin was OC, I don't really remember anything too crazy. It was just a gah.
Yeah, that's it. That checks out.
Dang it.
Yeah.
Shoot.
Maybe a smack of the desk every once in a
while.
while.
I don't remember hearing a single cuss word. But it was just a loud shout. As a fan, that I can understand those feelings when a play doesn't go right. Yep, because you practice it 20 times.
And now you might be in those shoes.
Well, that's going to wrap it up for the show. Defensive breakout player will be on tomorrow's show. We're out of here. So yeah, bottle caps for trivia. For Cole, I'm Mitch. Go Cats.